Hello everyone, in today's video I'm gonna share with you the 3 biggest mistakes that lifters make. So let's dive in. The first big mistake is not using electrolytes to your advantage. Because before a workout, there's people that are taking only caffeine. And don't get me wrong, caffeine is good, but there's much more to take in fact. So for those who don't know, electrolytes are chemical substances found in our sweat. And the principal electrolytes are sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. But the main one is sodium, and that's something really easy to verify, and it's a bit disgusting, but whatever. If one day you were sweating so much that sweat fell into your mouth, you probably noticed that it tasted like salt. And that's because the main electrolyte is sodium. So during a workout, during a lifting session, cardio, whatever, you're sweating, so you're losing electrolytes. And if you don't fuel in electrolytes properly, it's gonna lead to cramps, to weaknesses, and you're not gonna perform at your best in general. So nowadays, a lot of brands are trying to sell their products, and sometimes they're really expensive. So if you don't want to waste money in electrolyte mix, you can just take some salt before your workouts. This way, you're gonna be more performant, you're gonna have less injuries, less weaknesses, and you're just gonna feel better. So make sure to take some salt before your workouts. The second big mistake is not warming up properly. So I know a lot of lifters aren't taking warm up seriously, and that's something you should fix because warming up prevents injuries, and nobody wants to be injured. As a lifter, as any kind of athlete, injury is the worst thing possible. And in general, a lot of injuries can be avoided by just a good warm up. And this applies especially to the big compound movements, squats, deadlift, bench press, because a lot of body parts are getting involved and they need to be well prepared before your actual working sets. Because sometimes people for bench press they just do 1 or 2 filler reps and then they go straight up into their working sets. Like that's nonsense for me because first of all the chance of getting severely injured is higher, and also because you're not going to perform at your best. So if you want to perform in the gym and you don't want to get injured, just warm up. The second big mistake is focusing too much on protein rather than your overall calorie intake. So of course, proteins are important. If you want to build muscle, if you want to build strength, if you only focus on protein and you don't make sure that your overall calorie intake is high, is like adequate to your goals, then you're not going to gain muscle, you're not going to gain strength. This advice applies more for people who are trying to build muscle. So of course, if you're cutting, you should consume enough protein to maintain your build, to maintain your muscles. But you should be aware that the most important factor is always the overall calorie intake. You have to think about it. If nature has given us proteins, carbs, and fats, that's for a reason. So if you're focusing only on proteins and you're totally boycotting the 2 other macronutrients, that's not the best idea. As a great philosopher once said, not ideal. Therefore, you have to shift your spotlight from proteins to your overall calorie intake.